she's spinning herself to be, prioritizes quote-unquote family care. And if we really want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it, this is why Harry cannot be let back in and cannot be trusted. Kate is ill.
What?
What is ailing her is a very closely guarded piece of information.
Yeah.
That is their right. Harry and Meghan remind me of the fable of the scorpion and the frog.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
The scorpion asks the frog to float him across a river. The frog says, "You're a scorpion. You will bite me and kill me." And the scorpion says, "It would make no sense. I can't cross the river without you."
Wait for it.
Halfway through, scorpion stings the frog. The frog says, "Why did you do that?" The scorpion says, "It's my nature. I can't help it."
Yeah.
That's Harry and Meghan.
Paula, we have the scorpion and the frog, a perfect metaphor.
Perhaps if Harry were here, he might say that he's been stung so many times that he couldn't take the pain
I'm
any
sure he
longer.
would. He's been
And
whining
that's
about
why
all this
And that's
for
why
years,
he
yeah.
spoke out. Well, I mean, you use the word whining, but of course he is somebody who he says he
Are you serious?
has suffered significantly and that it's impacted on his mental health. So I think the term whining...
Let me ask Sarah on that point.
Should be...
So I wrote a column for the Sun tonight about William, right, who I think has been amazing. Fact. You've got to put yourself in his shoes for a moment, right? So he loses his two beloved grandparents and mentors for potentially one day being king. His wife has been seriously ill. His father, the king, has cancer, which apart from anything else, may mean that he himself has to consider potentially acceding to the throne earlier than he would have ever wanted to do. He doesn't speak to his only sibling, who's been trashing him in public, left, right and centre. And they both suffered the same trauma when they were kids of losing their mother, which was a trauma. I knew Dinah, I loved Dinah like we all did. It was awful, horrific, the whole thing. Fact. But I don't see that William has had to go through any worse than Harry. The only difference is that rather than go down the path of running to America and fleecing his titles for hundreds of millions of dollars, whilst constantly trashing the institution that bestowed them, William has chosen silence in public, dignity, decorum, and duty.
Well, he didn't have much choice, did he, because of the position.
Actually, he did. He could
born.
walk away.
Well,
Edward, when he fell in love with an American woman, walked away.
But I think Maureen's point about Kate's illness at the moment is a big factor in why there was no meeting between those brothers, if ever that was going to be on the cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he is so protective over his wife, and there is no trust there. There is no trust that any conversations that happen aren't going to be briefed out.
Harry even wrote, just to remind everybody,
That doesn't make sense.
Harry even wrote about private conversations with his father and his brother at Prince Philip's funeral site
in the grounds of Frogmore House, when his father apparently said, "Don't make my last years a misery."
Think about that for a moment.
Okay.
Revealing conversations you had with your father and your brother at your grandfather's funeral in a book.
But it's why I said I thought Harry's tone has shifted, because that interview on Good Morning America was actually pretty guarded.
Are you serious?
He talked about being grateful for the time he had.
Also talked about wanting to be American. And you know
he
why?
Said it wasn't a high priority.
Yeah, you know why? Because if he wants to be an American, he has to give up the titles.
Yes, you can't.
First thing you have to do, and Maureen, I'll bring you back in here.
Okay.
First thing you have to do if you take out American citizenship, you give up all your titles if you're British. And so Harry would go back to just being Harry and Meghan. And by the way, good luck to those two with their empire commercial plans if they don't have the royal stuff to exploit.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in America, and the first thing I thought was, well, so much for just Harry. You know, he's never going to give those titles up. Meghan clings to them as well. It is Exhibit A in terms of their rampant and unceasing hypocrisy. My favorite detail from the Whistler trip was that the head of the Invictus event there was instructed to call Harry and Meghan Sir and Ma'am.
I know.
So if anyone thinks these two are just going to get back down with the rest of American civilians, and, you know, Meghan's going to forfeit showing up in a glamour shot with a $3,000 Hermes coat while she's meeting wounded warriors. I mean, these two continue to dig their own holes.
Okay.
It is unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, here in America, I consider it one of the greatest pieces of performance art we've got going.
And you know what? I think they lost most Americans, Sarah, when they came up with this obviously cock and bull story about being chased around New York at 100 miles an hour for 2 hours. Anyone who's been in New York knows that's impossible. The traffic doesn't move. You were dying to get in there, so.
Well, I was. It's the point about the dining out on the royal connections.
Are you serious?
They were heavily criticised for the use of the Sussex name.
Yeah.
They're going to take it as a family name. Look, Harry was Harry Wales. George and Charlotte and Louis, before they became the Waleses, were the Cambridges. So there's nothing new about.
Why do you want your kids to have a royal?
Very good question.
Title
But
when you believe the monarchy as an institution has caused you such irreparable damage?
Well, I agree with that, but I also find it interesting that Archie and Lilibet will be known as Sussex, because actually it's a far less royal-sounding name for an American market than Mountbatten Windsor.
Yeah, but it goes for their Duke and Duchess, right?
So I understand that Harry's issue was with the institution, and I know that you keep referencing that he's trashing his father and trashing his brother, but I think we also need to be
We're not
fair.
referencing it.
Well,
What is he doing?
That's what he's done.
I think we also need to be fair. It's right that Harry hasn't hidden behind the "and a royal source" reports, because we know that that's what happens. Very often stories are in the papers about the Windsor House or the Sussex House or the Cambridge House, and it's a royal source is reported. Now, Harry doesn't have that to hide behind, but to suggest that there are stories put out about Harry...
Harry doesn't have what?
A royal source.
Oh, please do me a favour.
Scobie.
Please do me a favour.
Paula. What I'm saying is,
Paula,
they're not
how do you think we
what
even...
I'm saying is,
how
they're
do you
not
think...
hiding behind
How
that,
do you think
Piers.
People
But
magazine...
the stories come out.
How do you think People magazine knew about his fig leaf?
The stories come out.
You know how?
You can't suggest
You know how?
that nobody is putting out stories against
because
Harry.
Because his own people brief just as much as the palace.
OK, so you're you're accepting again what I'm saying.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
I think you should accept I probably know a little bit more, with respect, about the way this all works.
Superiority,
having been part of the media for 35
and that's
years,
why I'm asking you.
I can tell
that's
you,
right.
He and his wife used the media just as aggressively as anyone at the palace does on the other side. I can tell you that.
That's my point.
Anyway,
grateful.
We've got to leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed to my pack and to Maureen over in New York. Much appreciated. Doubtless we will meet again to discuss this. They're never going to go.
And Fergie's still rolling around in this kind of 30-room, 10-bedroom mansion. So, but Andrew, of course, as you rightly say, is stubborn about this, and he's got a cast iron lease that unless he defaults on some aspect of it, they haven't got a hope in hell of getting him out. And I think that's what they almost kind of want to smoke him out, make it so difficult.
Are we almost at the point where he's going to be building barbed wire barricades around himself?
You say that, but I suppose metaphorically speaking, yes. But I think what they want to do is
wait for it.
Is ensure that, you know, financially he just can't afford it anymore.
Remember last week in that piece we mentioned how they'd said they got the military involved. The King had asked for advice from the Chief of the General Staff. So watch this space.
As I said, rolling in the tanks anytime soon. But Richard, let's move delightfully to the Princess Anne section of the show. We always love it here. This week she's off to the south coast of England. What's she been up to?
Princess Anne. Almost needless to say, has had a busy week. She's been stepping in to carry out duties on behalf of the King, notably as an investiture, handing out those knighthoods and so forth. She also attended a boat show in Southampton, which was classic Anne. You know, some people you might expect them to sort of turn up an event and not have much to say, make a bit of small talk. But no, she was really probing. She went to look at one particular boat, and he was clearly taken aback. There were some quotes from the guy who was running the store, and she was really quizzing him about the intimate details of this boat and the systems in place. And he was very polite, but he said, "Wow, you know, I wasn't quite expecting that."
It probably felt like a GCSE exam. or something like that, when because she's just so knowledgeable about all that
And
stuff.
her and Tim are massive sailors. Every year they go on sailing holidays because she likes to go around the country and tick off the lighthouses. I mean, maybe our viewers could.
I didn't know this.
There's a special phrase
Wait for it.
for it, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's something like
it's about bagging.
ferology or something
Bagging.
like that.
Yeah.
There's an actual. So and she is a. I'm sure our viewers might be able to remind us what it is, but it's her.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
It's her one goal in life is to go around and tick off having seen every lighthouse, around the world that she can.
So the moral of the story is, if you're expecting a visit from Princess Anne, do your homework.
You serious?
I agree, but also it's just, I never knew that fact about Princess Anne. It was like, did you think they have evenings with like wine, cheese, lighthouse slideshows?
Yeah.
Here's this one from
She's
Cornwall.
passionate about it. I'll look it up and I'll try and remember the word for next week's show.
Only Andrew got his thrills in something so wholesome as
I'm being
we
told
might
in
not
my
be in
ear.
such a mess.
I'm being told in my ear that the word of the day is fairology.
That's it.
For
I knew it was
somebody
fair
who
something.
likes to collect this. It's like train spotting for lighthouses, right?
Yes, basically.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Good, clean fun, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, it gives you a chance
Wholesome.
to visit some of the most beautiful places around the British Isles. So it's a fun hobby
Just
to
stay away
have.
from those treacherous, sort of like rocky shores. But anyway, as we mentioned earlier, this weekend the royals will be gathered to celebrate Trooping the Colour. So here's a look at some of our favourite pictures from that event over the years.
Oh my God!
Nice.
That doesn't make sense.
Some wonderful memories there. We'll bring you an update on what happened at this year's Trooping
Okay.
on next week's show, of course. And if you don't want to miss that, do make sure you subscribe to the Daily Mail Royals YouTube channel. My thanks as ever to Rebecca, Charlotte, Richard, and to you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.